The digital clock on the dashboard of Sarah Lin's station wagon flickered to 11:42 p.m. as she pulled away from St. Jude's Hospital. Rain lashed against the windshield, blurring the halo of street lamps in Blackwood, a quiet, mist-shrouded coastal town in Victoria, Australia. Sarah was 32, a dedicated palliative care nurse known to everyone in Blackwood as the woman who held hands through final breaths. She never made it home. By morning, the town's morning calm shattered. Sarah's wagon was found idling at the edge of the Blackwood cliffs, driver's side door open, her phone smashed on the gravel nearby. A faint smear of blood dragged along the driver's seat. In a town of 1,200 people, where lock and key was considered a formality, panic spread like wildfire. Detective Mark Higgins of the Victoria Police arrived at the scene as local volunteers scoured the rain-slicked gullies below the cliffs. Initial signs pointed to a nightmare every small town fears: a predatory stranger, an opportunistic ambush on a lonely coastal road. Sarah's husband, David Lin, a soft-spoken high school physics teacher, was inconsolable at the search site. Hands trembling, he pleaded with TV news cameras for her safe return. The community rallied around him, dropping off casseroles, organizing candlelit vigils, and eyeing every passing out-of-town vehicle with bitter suspicion. "She didn't have an enemy in the world," David told the local news, his voice breaking. "Sarah lived for other people." 4 days into the search, the narrative of the random monster began to fracture. Forensic analysis of the phone recovered at the scene revealed that while the screen was shattered, the memory chip was intact. Data recovery specialists retrieved weeks of deleted encrypted messages between Sarah and an unlisted mobile number. The messages did not paint the portrait of a quiet, contented small-town nurse. Financial strain. Sarah had opened 3 separate offshore bank accounts over the past year, moving thousands of dollars out of her joint accounts. A secret life. The encrypted texts pointed to a volatile relationship with someone she referred to only as M. The prescription logs, hospital audits, quietly requested by Higgins, showed a months-long discrepancy in controlled substances at St. Jude's, specifically high-potency opioids. Sarah had been the last person to log access to the safe. The quiet, selfless caregiver was drowning in secrets. The true breakthrough came not from the cliffside, but from a forgotten CCTV camera mounted outside a coastal bait shop 2 miles inland from the vehicle dump site. On the night of Sarah's disappearance, at 12:15 a.m., 30 minutes after her car was abandoned, a woman matching Sarah's build was seen walking briskly away from the coast, carrying a heavy duffel bag. She wasn't being dragged. She wasn't fleeing a stranger. She was stepping into the passenger side of a silver Uta. When police ran the license plate of the Uta, the investigation took its most devastating turn. Clara Vance was the woman who had organized Sarah's vigils. She was the one holding David's hand on the news, making soup for the search volunteers, and weeping on the steps of the police station. When Detective Higgins brought Clara in for questioning, her poised, grieving friend facade held for precisely 40 minutes. Then Higgins laid out the financial transfers, the Uta's license plate scan, and the pharmacy logs. Clara hadn't harmed Sarah. Clara had helped her vanish. "You don't know what David was like behind closed doors," Clara whispered, her composure snapping into raw anger. "You only saw the polite teacher." The unraveling was complete. Sarah hadn't been abducted, nor had she staged a crime scene alone. She was fleeing a marriage defined by years of covert emotional and physical abuse, a side of David he meticulously hid behind his gentle public persona. Desperate to escape without leaving a trail, Sarah had partnered with Clara. Together, they orchestrated the scene at the cliff. Sarah extracted a small amount of her own blood days earlier using hospital supplies to seed the car. She staged the abandoned vehicle to look like an ambush. Clara picked her up down the road, drove her to an airfield 2 hours north, and helped her board a private charter under a fake identity. The stolen hospital medications? a desperate attempt by Sarah to build a liquid cash nest egg through illicit resale before leaving, facilitated by Clara's administrative access. The shock that hit Blackwood was double-edged. The horror of a predatory stranger was replaced by the uncomfortable reality of what had been happening behind the closed doors of a respected local home, and how far a community's saint had to go to buy her freedom. David Lin was never charged with abduction, but the subsequent police investigation into domestic reports destroyed his standing in the community. He resigned and left Victoria months later. Clara Vance faced charges for obstruction of justice and administrative fraud, receiving probation and a suspended sentence due to mitigating circumstances. Sarah Lin was located 3 states away, living under an alias. While cleared of her own murder, she faced conditional probation for the hospital property charges and civil fines for the search costs. The quiet town of Blackwood returned to its routines, but the mist over the cliffs carried a permanent truth. The darkest secrets are often the ones kept by the people we think we know best. Do you think Sarah was justified in taking such extreme measures to escape, or did she go too far by faking her own abduction and using hospital resources? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable true crime deep dives, real-life mysteries, and psychological thrillers.